Early voting in the November election started today. Voters are deciding on the 10 state constitutional amendments as well as city and county propositions. So tonight we are launching a week-long explainer series with KVUE political anchor Ashley Godot, starting with state props 1 through 5.
It's time to vote, Texas, and on the ballot this year are 10 amendments to the state's constitution. To understand Prop 1, you need to know a little bit about municipal judges. Those are the judges in your cities and towns. In the Lone Star State, these judges can either be elected or appointed. Appointed judges can work in multiple municipalities, but elected judges can only work where they're elected. Prop 1 would change that. Voting for it would allow elected judges to serve where they're elected and in other municipalities. Prop 2 is a bond proposition. It allows the Texas Water Development Board to issue up to $200 million in bonds to build water and sewer projects in economically distressed areas of the state. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle support the measure.
Because right now there are thousands of Texans who don't have access to clean water or wastewater infrastructure.
Texas, let's get together and do this.
But critics say this funding should come from the state's general revenue fund or be paid for by local governments, not the state. Proposition 3 would allow the legislature to give a temporary property tax exemption between 15 and 100% to people in a governor-declared disaster area. The exemption percentage would depend on the damage, and the local taxing entity would decide whether to grant the exemption. It's in reaction to Hurricane Harvey. Prop 4 is certain to get a lot of attention. It prohibits the state from implementing a state income tax. But there's something you should know. The Texas Constitution already prohibits the legislature from implementing a state income tax unless voters approve it. And if by some strange turn of events they do, the current law requires that money be used to fund education. Prop 4 gets rid of that clause. And finally, Proposition 5 would require revenue from the existing state sales tax on sporting goods go to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department and the Texas Historical Commission. The money would go toward improving parks and protecting natural and historic areas. Supporters think this is great because historic areas are decaying and several parks, including Bastrop State Park, could use a lot of love. But opponents argue having a dedicated fund will decrease the flexibility the legislature has when it's time to craft the state budget. So whether you're for or against, the choice is up to you.
Thanks, Ashley. And tomorrow, Ashley will break down Props 6 through 10. And you can also head to KVUE.com/VoteTexas to read about all of the propositions. Remember, early voting runs through November the 1st. Election Day is November the 5th.